I lost weight and transformed my body without dieting. This is gonna blow your mind. Giulia, I'm a certified practitioner who helps women to break free of lifelong body image and food struggles and step into the brazen confidence they deserve. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to hear more of these videos and really support you to step into the life that you truly deserve, free of these struggles. Number one, I stopped dieting. I know this is going to blow your mind because we are taught that calories in versus calories out. And if you focus on dieting and restricting food, you're going to have the body that you always want. I did that for most of my life, and I did not get anywhere closer to the body that I wanted. In fact, I actually experienced the opposite. The more I restricted, the more I dieted, the more inflamed my body became, the more I felt puffy, I gained weight, and I was so confused. How can I possibly gain weight when I'm taking in less calories? And I'm sure there's some fitness professional that's gonna, do a whole video and be like, that's not possible, that's not possible. Well, I'm showing you photos of my body. It absolutely is possible. And it was what happened to me. And I'm going to explain exactly why that happens. So when you are chronically dieting, we have something called a nervous system. And our nervous system at an automatic level controls all kinds of things like our hormones, whether they're balanced or not, our stress hormones. So cortisol, we talk a lot about cortisol in these days. Cortisol is a stress hormone that does have a huge influence on our weight and inflammation and weight gain. There's things called insulin resistance. There is weight resistance that happens when we have a dysregulated nervous system. Our metabolism, our gut health, all of these things, our mood, our energy, all of those factors are influenced and controlled by our nervous system. Chronic dieting is something that is known to dysregulate our nervous system. So when you have a dysregulated nervous system, you also have dysregulated things like hormones, metabolism. A lot of people have things like leaky gut, bacterial overgrowth, all kinds of things. So if any of that is happening because you have a dysregulated nervous system, you can diet all you want. You're not going to see the results you want. And that's why so many people don't understand why they're chronically dieting and they're not seeing results. And you have probably experienced this in your life too. The more you cut down your calories and make that your baseline, you get to a point where you have nowhere else to go. You can't start eating, a lot of people are eating, I don't even want to say the numbers because it's so jarring and so upsetting to see, but people are basically eating nothing in a day and expecting their body to function and for them to lose weight. It's craziness. And I decided to stop dieting because I saw what it was doing to my body. I was experiencing all kinds of symptoms. I started developing insomnia, weight gain, chronic inflammation. I started also binge eating. I was very depressed, had a lot of anxiety. The list goes on. And I went to go see naturopaths. I went to go see different doctors. I was like, what is going on with me? Why am I gaining weight? Why is this all happening? I'm dieting. I'm doing all the right things. Why is this happening to my body? And what I learned was that my hormones were out of balance as a result of my chronic dieting, along with a lot of other factors. And so with that, yes, you can obviously increase your food intake and do things like a reverse diet, but more importantly, if you don't actually fix the root problem, you're not going to actually be able to see the changes that you want to see. So this is kind of a bigger picture that we're talking about. So what I did was I stopped dieting. I decided I'm going to heal my relationship with food. I started working from the inside out, healing all of these different belief systems I had about food. I'm afraid of carbs. I can't eat this. I have to be X amount of calories per day. There were so many things connected to my relationship with food. So I started with the psychological, emotional crap that was surrounding my relationship with food. And in doing so, I then developed peace with food, where I understood that I could eat anything I wanted. I didn't have anything off limits. I learned how to eat normal meals. I learned how to actually nourish my body, and amazing things happened from that. And I will never look back. I will never go on a diet again. I will never restrict calories again because it destroyed my whole life. Truly, it took over my whole life. And many people just don't actually conceptually realize that you can have the relationship you want with your body and the freedom you want in your life and the freedom you want with food without dieting. You do not have to restrict and have all these rules around food in order to see the results you want. I promise you that. Have to be like a rebel and you have to decide, I'm not going to do this shit anymore. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to let all these crazy rules and obsession about food control my life. I'm not going to let the number on a scale dictate whether I'm going to leave the house or not. It's all insanity. And yet we do it day in and day out because we are so programmed from diet culture, from media, from those unrelenting beauty standards that this is how you become happy and successful in the world. And it's just not true. And I am a living example of that. So I hope that was helpful. Number 2, second thing that I stopped doing was I stopped all these chronic obsessive thoughts about losing weight and changing my body. So those thoughts really ran my whole life, and they really influenced everything I did. They influenced whether I would go out with friends, whether I would say yes to a vacation, whether or not I would date, how good my day was going to be, my self-esteem. This obsession over losing weight and changing my body influenced everything and made me so miserable. And I always thought, yes, if I change my body, then I will allow myself to do X, Y, or Z. And then that day would come where I would change my body and I would wonder, why am I still miserable and unhappy? Because the problem isn't your body, the problem is your mind. And the problem is society and all this constant messaging that we acquire. So I learned how to become an expert of my mind and how to heal those chronic limiting beliefs, those chronic negative thoughts. I learned how to actually befriend that part of me, how to develop a loving, compassionate relationship with that part of me, where I could finally realize, oh my gosh, it's not my fault. This poor part of me has been brainwashed my whole life to think I'm not enough. I have to have bigger breasts or a smaller waist, or I have to have a bigger bum, or whatever it is, or tinier arms. And I learned how to be very compassionate with that part of me and to use very specific tools to heal all this mental anguish. And when I did that, everything changed for me. Not only my relationship with my body image, but my whole life. The way I dated, how I made money, every single thing, like from my financial situation to my friendships, to my romantic relationships, my self-esteem. When you really fix the internal root problem, endless possibilities exist for you, because you're no longer chasing things to make you feel happy. You're actually enough as you are. You feel worthy as you are. And so therefore you feel capable of anything because you have that true sense of self-worth, and it's no longer hinging on a little thread. So it's so important to really heal the root problem, which is your mind. And until you do that, you're gonna, you could spend the rest of your life trying to chase a different body type and different things in order to be happy, only to realize none of that works. And we know that deep down. We just keep contributing to that insanity. So again, you have to kind of be a rebel and decide to say, okay, enough is enough. I'm tired of this. I'm actually going to learn how to do the internal work to really change my life. And until we create those internal changes, nothing externally in our life is going to change, because everything internally dictates our external reality. Yes, I went through a lot of therapy, about 20 years of therapy, to try and learn how to do that. I went to all kinds of things, from Tony Robbins conventions, Gabby Bernstein, self-help books. A lot of awareness came out of all of that. But truly, the biggest change for me when it came to actually reprogramming my mind was using a technique called emotional freedom techniques. And I am a master certified practitioner in that, and that is a big focus of what I do with my clients, and absolutely life-changing. This is something that happens below conscious awareness. So trying to tell yourself logically, I'm just going to stop thinking negatively about myself tomorrow, doesn't work, because you're actually conditioned as a human being to have a negativity bias. You're conditioned to look for flaws. And then our society makes that even worse. So unless you actually have tools to combat that and retrain your brain, nothing is going to change. 3, I stopped obsessively exercising. That was a big problem for most of my life. And again, same story. If I exercise more, I'm going to have a better body. If I exercise more, people are going to like me more. If I exercise more, fill in the blanks. I'm going to ... accomplish this in my life. That never happened. I was always a super achiever. I was always on sports teams. I danced. I did it competitively. I did a ton of stuff that really contributed to this narrative that if I exercise more, I'm going to be more worthy in the world. I even became a fitness instructor at one point in my life. And yes, I genuinely loved being a fitness instructor, but there was a big subconscious part of me that wanted to do that to have a better body, to then live a better quality of life. And actually what happened was that over exercising and fitness obsession totally ruined my body and took me 4 to 5 years to actually come back and heal from. And this is part of the more toxic messaging. Overexercising is not better. Overexercising is something else that dysregulates our nervous system, is very taxing on us, and has all kinds of consequences to our health. You can't just exercise and exhaust yourself 7 days a week and expect yourself to all of a sudden magically have this perfect body. Like your muscles need rest, and they need time to, your nervous system needs time to rest and even make that happen. So I really learned the hard way that over exercising and pushing my body to the extremes, not only it injured me, it dysregulated my nervous system, it contributed to me feeling depressed and anxious all the time, having a lot of weight gain and inflammation, insomnia, the list goes on. I went from exercising my body sometimes 3 hours a day, maybe more some days to be honest, and 7 days a week, and high intensity interval training to add to that, which is very intense on your body and taxing, to completely changing my relationship with exercise, which again was I had to do a lot of psychological, emotional work on that to make that happen. It's not something we can just kind of flip our fingers and go, tomorrow I have a brand new relationship with exercise. But once I did that, I learned how to have a healthy, balanced relationship with exercise, which for me today looks like I work out 4 days a week. And that was really scary for me as well to actually shift into, as someone who used to exercise 7 days a week and multiple hours a day. Now it's 4 days a week, and it's an hour tops. And if I go for a walk outside of my gym sessions, it's short. I'm not obsessively trying to count 10,000 steps a day, which I also think is very unhealthy. People become so obsessed with hitting those 10,000 steps that they reach 9 p.m. and they're like, shit, I haven't gotten my steps. I gotta go walk around the block 15 times. And this stress and anxiety about getting those steps is actually pulling you further away from your goals. We have to realize at a certain point that all this anxiety we have around health and fitness and well-being is actually very detrimental. And when you're chronically pumping your body with all this stress, again, you're contributing to dysregulating your nervous system, which then has a whole bunch of health and physiological consequences that are then going to pull you away from actually the objectives you're trying to reach. So I learned this very long-winded, hard way that less is actually more in a lot of cases, and that I have rest now, and my body can actually sleep and regenerate and heal and actually develop the muscles that I'm looking to accomplish by being at the gym and lifting heavier every week. So that for me was a really big challenge that I overcame, and in turn I also got my life back, because it's really exhausting to be so obsessed with losing weight and going to the gym and exercising these crazy amounts. It's so exhausting, and it leaves time for nothing. And I remember being at a Coachella music festival when I was 30, and I was so excited to get there, but then when I was there, I was so unable to be present because I was thinking about how many calories are in the drinks that I'm consuming, how many steps am I getting by walking around this festival, how many hours am I going to have to go to the gym tomorrow to actually, burn off this lifestyle that I'm doing at Coachella. It was crazy. I couldn't even be present. And so now I can go on vacations like I did for my honeymoon, where I was gone for several weeks and I never went to the gym once. I didn't even care. Like, it just didn't matter to me. And that to me is true life. Like, I didn't want to be chained by that anymore. And so that's also possible for you. I'm telling you. And the last thing I'll say about exercise is that me moving away from high intensity interval training to actual strength training with a focus on progressive overload made a huge difference in my body composition, because again, it's just a very different form of exercise. It's very intentional. Building skeletal muscle mass is a predictor of long-term health and longevity. It increases your metabolism, thermogenesis. There's so many benefits to actually building muscle. So I didn't actually get into strength training because of that. I actually just got into it because I was so tired of sprinting and doing really intense exercises. If you want to learn more about the benefits of skeletal muscle mass, what that really looks like, there's a wonderful podcast that Mel Robbins did with a doctor on it, and I'll link it below, and it's awesome. Fourth thing I did was I stopped neglecting my nervous system. So our nervous system, as we've discussed, is responsible for all kinds of automatic functions in the body. And I didn't know anything about the nervous system. I didn't even know what it was or that we had one. But all the stress that we have about our daily lives, even exercising is a form of stress. It can be a very positive form of stress, but if you are over exercising, you're basically contributing to further dysregulation of your nervous system. I learned how to be an expert in taking care of my nervous system. I learned to do exercises every single day to clear stress, to build my resilience and tolerance to stress. And in turn, what that has helped me to do was not only regulate my hormones, help lower cortisol levels, help, increase my appetite in a really healthy way, because for a long time that was shut down, which is a really bad sign when it comes to your metabolism. I learned how to decrease daily anxiety, do all kinds of things that truly changed my life. And most people don't realize how important it is to actually take care of your nervous system. And so many of the physiological ailments that we experience in life, we often just get fed a band-aid fix, like here's a medication or here's a supplement that's going to make all your problems go away. But if you're not actually fixing the root cause of what's going on, a supplement is not going to do anything for you. And I've experienced that day in and day out. So now I teach my clients really proven exercises to help regulate their nervous system, build their resilience to stress, help their health and longevity, and it's such a game changer. So if you want to learn more about those, you can head over to my page. And lastly, as a bonus, I'm going to say it, like, you can't do this alone. You can do a lot of things on your own. I'm all about empowerment, but when it comes to really healing and transforming your relationship with your body image and lifelong struggles with weight, you need professional support. It's going to get you there so much faster, and you want to have someone who's walked the walk, who talks the talk, who has an evidence-based formula to actually support you to get there. That is instrumental. So if you enjoyed this video, I would love to hear in the comments. If you want to learn more about how I specifically can support you to achieve your goals with your body image, break free of these lifelong struggles with your weight and food, I would love to talk to you. You can book a complimentary call with me anytime. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell to be notified so you know every time I post a new video, and I'll see you again next week.